Hey, what's going on, guys? Bluntcuts here. This is a Watcher of Realms video. We have got one of the biggest summoning weekends that we've had in a very long time in this game coming up in just a couple days, starting on Thursday. There are 3 banners that I will be covering in this video, and they all have some amazing heroes on them. I can't wait to summon. I'm going to be emptying the tank. Let's get into it. So before I even talk about the banners, there is something else that is going on this weekend that is super exciting, and that is that the standard 15x rate up on banners is going to be increased to 20x. Now, this is not the solution that I wanted. It's not the solution that I think we need, but is it better than what we had before? Yes, I think so. Anyway, I'm excited about it. I think that it is going to be nice to have a better chance to pull these units, theoretically anyway. Now, one thing I will say is that 15x, 20x, it's all kind of meaningless when you don't give us the rate that you are multiplying by 15 or 20 times, and they could theoretically be like twisting dials, flipping switches in the background, changing the rates every single weekend, and we might not have any idea what the actual chance are to summon. So we're gonna have to wait and see whether or not anecdotally it does feel like we are summoning the rate up heroes more often. But I am hopeful that they are invested in the idea of people coming away from this weekend feeling like it was fixed. So I'm hoping that we have better luck this weekend. I'm hoping that I have better luck this weekend. I would love to get multiple copies of a lot of the heroes that are going to be available this weekend. As far as the banners that are coming up, there are, like I said, 3 of them. The first one is on Thursday. The first one is going to be for Anora. This will be the second iteration of Anora's banner. Anora is amazing. Really fantastic limited hero, guaranteed at 200 summons. Let's go talk about the awakenings that you should be shooting for with Anora. So Anora is a phenomenal hero. I love her. One of the best AoE mages in the game. She was kind of slept on at the time of her release. People were really excited about her, and then they found out that she couldn't receive buffs. More specifically, rage regen effects typically don't work on her, and everybody was kind of out on her. But she turned into one of the best GVG heroes in the game. On top of that, she does have strong interaction with other summoners. So I think moving forward, she is going to be a very, very solid investment because it does seem like they are trying to push summoners in this game. Going through her awakenings, the A1, when Noxious Breath, which is a proccable ground AoE that her summon labor does place on the ground, is generated. It immediately inflicts immobilized state on up to 8 enemies in range. This immobilized state is a crowd control, essentially. It stops enemies from moving, doesn't stop them from acting, but stops them from moving for 1 second. It's decent, nothing crazy on the A1, a bit of CC, a bit more CC, I should say, added to her kit. The A2 is plus 300 attack, that's nice. This is her base attack, it will get multiplied by all the attack bonus stats on her gear. The A3, labor ignores 20% of enemies' magic resist. Now, I think that Anora's best spot is in GVG, where a lot of the demon soldiers do have really, really high magic resist. Labor, her summon, does the majority of her damage. It allows him to ignore 20% of the enemy magic resist. This is really, really big. This is by far, in my opinion, her best awakening. The A4 is plus 8% penetration, similar to the A3. 8% magic resist ignore, essentially. Not quite as good as the A3, but still very, very solid. And the A5, enemies on tiles affected by Noxious Breath, which again is that proccable ground AoE, receive 20% increased damage from both the hero and from labor. So 20% extra damage, but it is only when this Noxious Breath is on the ground. It is on the ground relatively consistently, but you can't necessarily rely on it in the same way that you can rely on the A3. On top of that, ignoring 20% of magic resist is typically going to be more damage on high magic resist targets than a flat 20% damage boost. Just my experience, just my 2 cents. The A3 is really the stopping point, in my opinion. But hell, more copies are only going to enhance her damage, and yeah, not a bad thing at all. This banner is coming on Thursday. It will be going through the end of Monday, the 21st, so 5 total days that it will be active, including a reset, which is really nice. One of the most anticipated heroes to enter Watcher of Realms in a long, long time, and I'm talking about Talin, the dual purpose marksman and defender. Really, really cool hero. I don't know that she's going to quite live up to the hype that she has received, but I think she is very, very good. I certainly want to get a couple of copies of her. On top of that, Lyra is an Infernal Esotericist dual faction hero whose calling card is applying a 30% magic resist reduction debuff on enemies with her basic attack. Really great as an enabler. Let's go take a look at their awakenings. So Talin is a really cool hero. She can be placed on ground tiles or on platform tiles. When she is placed on the ground, she does become essentially a defender and has a bunch of stat increases. When she is placed on a platform tile, she is a marksman. Both forms are pretty decent. I'd say the marksman form is the superior form, but there's a lot of interesting things that you can do. Because she is technically a marksman, but she functions as a defender, it opens up a lot of possibilities with the way that you can gear her, and I do really, really appreciate that. So let's go through the awakenings real quick. They all kind of revolve around this Thorn Shield piece of her kit. So for every 1 stack of Thorn Shield, increases damage by an extra 2%. That is the A1. Thorn Shield increases attack by 2% and defense by 2%. All stacks are preserved after redeployment. So if you pick her up, you put her back down, you're going to retain these stacks of Thorn Shield that you did gain on the previous deployment. Now, this can stack up to 15 times at A1, meaning that you are going to get 30% attack and 30% defense increase once you do get full stacks. On top of that, with the A1, you will get a 30% damage increase. So pretty substantial bonus. It does take, I think, somewhere in the neighborhood of like a minute and a half to gain all those stacks, but that is a really substantial increase to her stats. The A2 is plus 300 attack. That's really nice. Again, that is base attack, so it'll be more than 300 attack added to the character sheet. The A3 increases initial rage by 300, which basically lets her ult as soon as she is deployed, increases the stat cap of Thorn Shield by 5. That means you're going to get an extra 10% attack, defense, and damage once you are at max stacks of Thorn Shield. And she's also going to gain 2 stacks of Thorn Shield each time that she does cast the ultimate, which means that even though the stat cap does go up, you will likely reach that cap faster once you do have the A3. This is a really phenomenal awakening. I would love to get it. This is kind of the point where I think I would stop if I was really pulling hard on this banner, but I'll go through the other awakenings just so you know what they are. The A4 is plus 8% penetration. Basically 8% magic resist ignore for her because all of her damage is magic damage. Really nice. I think especially when you consider her ultimate does ignore magic resist as well. This is going to add to that component, but you know, ultimately A4s are typically kind of on the smaller side from an impact perspective. The A5 is for every 1 stack of Thorn Shield, reduces the hero's AoE damage taken by 1%. When you have the A5, you will be able to stack that up to 20, meaning that you will get 20% AoE damage reduction at max stacks. When Thorn Shield reaches full stacks, the hero survives when receiving fatal damage for the first time after each deployment and restores 50% HP. So she has a fatal damage saving mechanism. It's not unyielding. There is no extended period of fatal damage protection like you would with an unyielding tank, but at the same time, it does add to her kit and make her a little bit more survivable. I'd say the biggest problem with this is that you do have to wait until you get full stacks of Thorn Shield in order for this to activate, meaning that if you do take fatal damage in the first like minute and a half of her deployment, she's just going to die. She's not going to get this. Either way, still a solid awakening. So in my opinion, the A1 is more than sufficient. You're going to get a 30% damage increase essentially, which is really, really nice. If you wanted to pull further, or if you're going to go hard on this banner, I'd say the A3 is the logical stopping point, where you're going to get some other significant boosts to what the hero does. The A4 and the A5, I think those are ones that personally I would just leave for random pulls of Talin at any point in the future. She is not a limited hero. She is not ancient exclusive or anything like that. This is somebody that you could randomly pull on a random banner. So I just would not go crazy on this one. Let's go take a look at Lyra and Lyra's Awakenings. So I know that we said we were going to go through Lyra's Awakenings, but here's the thing. This is going to be a long enough video already. I'm going through 5 different heroes' awakenings, and my personal opinion is that there are no awakenings for Lyra that are really all that worth it, except for the A5, which is kind of nice, but it is not good enough to justify pulling 6 copies of her. Now, granted, you may pull some copies of her if you are going for Talin, so that is certainly a possibility, but I don't think that pursuing awakenings on Lyra is really worthwhile. She does some really valuable things. I don't think she's a bad hero by any means, but all of her awakenings do enhance her personal damage, which is not very high to begin with. So I don't think you're really gaining all that much by investing in her in that way. Now, her calling card is this magic resist reduction. Move myself to the side so you can see it. It is a 30% magic resist reduction. It is massive. It is an enabler for other magic damage dealers on your squad, and this is something that is really going to help you out in boss fights in particular. So I love this skill, but you get it at A0. Other than that, she also does provide buff removal. Again, you get that at A0. So getting the Awakenings is not going to substantially change the way that she does play. I think if you're a min-max player, then yeah, the Awakenings are not like the worst thing in the world. They're all going to enhance your damage, but she's not going to by virtue of getting her to A5, suddenly become like an S tier damage dealer. So I just wouldn't. But, you know, similarly, you don't have to be upset if you do get them while you are pursuing Talin. I just, you know, in future banners, I wouldn't go for this. Let's go take a look at the Ancient banner. All right, so the final banner that is coming this weekend is going to be showing up on Saturday, April 19th. It will be going again through the end of Monday, the 21st of April. Big one. Big one for me personally. I've been waiting for this one for 8 months. I've wanted a Valderon for a very, very long time, basically since the anniversary event when he first did appear on a banner last year. God, I want Valderon so badly. I don't have a legendary Chaos Lord. I don't have Ghan, don't have Valderon. I need him. Now, unfortunately, he is going to be alongside another unit that is considered a Lord, Ymiret. That's not to say Ymiret is not fantastic, because good God, I love Ymiret too. Just for me personally, I want Valderon, and I want my Lord Mercy to be counted towards a chance to pull for Valderon. I don't have to share that limelight with Ymiret, but it is what it is. Let's go to Ymiret first. Let's go over his awakenings. I love this hero. You're going to love him too if you do get lucky enough to snag him. So Ymiret is the Ancient exclusive member of the Unnameable faction. He does provide 4% base damage to any team that he is added to. Let's go through his awakenings real quick. Before that, I guess I should also say he is one of the few anti-air fighters in the game, and he is, in my opinion, the best anti-air fighter in the game. I think that Arrogance, you could say, probably does more damage than Ymiret, but Ymiret just brings so much more to the table. I think, unquestionably, he is the best one out there. So the A1, when the ultimate is triggered, deals 280% damage to a maximum of 10 enemies in range and inflicts freeze on them for 2 seconds. That freeze will become 3 seconds for enemies that are within 2 tiles of him because of his, I believe it's in his talent. He increases the duration of freeze within 2 tiles by 50%. This is big damage from him. It also has a massive range and great crowd control at the same time. Really love this awakening. The A2 is plus 5% attack. That's nice. On top of that, that 4% damage increase I was talking about basically gets a 50% buff, going up to 6% total damage increase for everybody on your squad. The A3, while the ultimate is not activated, there is a 30% chance for basic attack to trigger Winter's Bite, which is a stacking slow that slows by 25% per stack. When it reaches the 3rd stack, it does freeze for 2 seconds. Again, that will be increased for units that are within 2 tiles because of Ymiret's talent. This is amazing. Typically, he can only apply this debuff during the ultimate, but when he does get this awakening, he gets a chance to apply it with his basic attack outside of the ultimate. It is huge for GVG. It is the best awakening that you can get for him, is the one that you should shoot for, in my opinion. If you were pulling for multiple copies of him, he is just so goddamn good, and this awakening makes him amazing. The A4, plus 2 rage regen on each basic attack. It's really nice. This limits the amount of downtime in between his ultimates, makes it harder in GVG for opponents to attack you while avoiding that ultimate. And then the A5 is honestly probably his worst one, is after casting the ultimate 2 times, increases the range of subsequent ultimates. That basically means that after you cast his ultimate twice, subsequent ultimates will have essentially Ajax range. So it basically broadens the far end of his ultimate. It's not that great. And the use cases for it are very, very limited. I'm not excited to get it. I'm almost certain that I will this weekend. I got a bunch of ancient summons I'm going to do, and I kind of assume that I am not going to get Valderon because he's the one I really want. But either way, it's not bad. It doesn't hurt him or anything like that, but it just is not really going to significantly enhance his functionality. Let's go take a look at Valderon's awakenings. Valderon, he is the Ancient exclusive Chaos Lord. I guess they're both Ancient exclusive, excuse me, but he is the more recently released legendary Chaos Lord. And yeah, just a badass unit. His A1, when deployed, gains 1 stack of chaotic vitality. During that period, the ultimate becomes unavailable. So basically, he can't use his ultimate for the first 10 seconds. Once he does have his A1, he is going to gain chaotic vitality, which can stack twice, gaining 25% attack and 25% crit damage per stack. He's also going to lose 10% of current HP per second when he does have this on him, but it basically enables early damage from him, which is really essential in the arena, which is the spot where he is really meta right now in single target arena. The A2 is plus 300 attack. That is nice. Be nicer if it was 5% attack, honestly, but is what it is. On top of that, because he is a Lord, he does improve his Lord bonus with this, increasing faction team members' damage by 5%. That's awesome. The A3, this is the big one. This is the one that you do want to shoot for. During chaotic vitality, the hero's attack ignores 50% of the target's defense. He already hits really, really hard. This allows him to ignore 50% defense. Just so goddamn strong. I love this awakening. This is the one that if you talk to endgame players, this is the awakening that you kind of need in order to be competitive in Apex Overlord Arena. And that is, I'm unlikely to get it, but good God, do I want it. Can you imagine if I pulled 4 copies of Valderon? Not going to happen, but yeah, that's the dream. That is the dream. The A4 is plus 8% penetration, similar to the A3. More defense ignore is only going to enable his damage. Really, really nice. The A5, when Chaotic Annihilation is triggered, increases attack speed by 130.45 seconds. It's not bad, but it's also just not amazing either. You know, it's going to be a damage increase, but it is only for 5 seconds, and 130 speed is not really make or break. So honestly, in my opinion, if you are pulling for him, if you have multiple copies already, or you're just going for broke on this, A3 is really the best stopping point. That is the one that kind of maximizes his value. There's no need to really pull past that, although the A4 and the A5 are only going to help you. The A3 is going to give you most of what the hero does. Well, guys, I guess this is the point in the video where I am supposed to tell you what you should be doing with your summons, and it's kind of challenging. I'm not really sure what I'm going to be doing with mine yet. I'm torn. I want Anora. I want Talin. So here's my general plan right now, subject to change. I'm going to pull for the guaranteed copy of Anora. I'm then going to go onto the Talin banner, probably pity manipulate, and I will try to get 2 copies of Talin. I think the A1 is sufficient. I think that, you know, A3 would be great, but I think at A1 you're getting about 95% of what Talin can do. So I don't think you necessarily need to push for the A3. If you have a lot of summons, you want to go for it, you know, have at it. But I would also encourage you to remember that Anora is a limited hero. She is only around, let's see, once every, at this point, it's been nearly a year since we had her banner. So if you want to rank her up to A3, which I do think is kind of like the money spot for her awakenings, then you are going to have to use soul stones if you don't get it on this banner. So I'm going to shoot for a couple of copies of Talin. If I strike out on that, I might shift back to the Anora banner. I'd love to get her A3, and then I can worry about getting Talin at a later date because there will be future Talin banners. There is always the chance to pull her randomly on a banner next week or something like that. As much as I like Talin, I don't think that she is phenomenal. I will have a link to my damage breakdown of Talin, which has some more of my thoughts on exactly where I see her fitting in. But the only place that I really see her fitting in on an M-game account right now is in Abyss 1 in a Watchguard comp as a marksman. I'm kind of skeptical that her ground-based form is really going to change anything anywhere. She can be a competent tank in a lot of areas. But as far as GVG is concerned, I just don't see her being much of a force there. Maybe as a second line tank sitting behind an unyielding tank or something like that in a piercer comp, but I'm just not sure that she's really going to be better than the options we currently have in the game for that kind of role. So you know, we'll have to wait and see. As far as the ancient banner, I think if you don't have Valderon or you don't have Ymiret, you should be pulling. Honestly, if you don't have both of those heroes at A3 or higher, I think you kind of should be pulling, but that's just me. Long term, I think that's the awakenings that we're all going to want to shoot for. But if you don't care about Arena, then Valderon is not that important for you. If you don't care about GVG, then Ymiret's value is significantly diminished for you as well. But I do think they are both really great heroes that are likely going to be useful in future content as well. So I think it is prudent to grab a copy of both of those if you do have the summons to do so. I know a lot of folks are waiting for that esotericist lore that is rumored to be coming out, but I just remind everybody that we don't really know what her kit's going to look like. We don't know when she's coming. It could be in a week. It could be in a month. It could be the anniversary, you know, in like July or something like that. So if you need these heroes, I'd encourage you to take a stab at them. You know, maybe save something for a rainy day, but I would pull some summons for them. I'm going to end up having around 180 ancients, and I'm going to be pulling all of them, more than likely. I'm probably going to end up with A8 Ymiret. So in any case, guys, please do watch my summoning videos over the weekend. I do hope this was helpful to you. Sound off in the comments. Let me know what you're going to be doing with your summons and what you're hoping for. Please do click that thumbs up button. Please do subscribe to my channel if you do enjoy my content, and I will catch you all next time.